Hey, everybody. Welcome to the WGU Alumni Podcast. We're thrilled to have you tuning in for another episode. My name is Jeff Burton. I'm the Senior Manager of Alumni Engagement here at WGU. Now, today's guest, I am super excited to introduce, and it's Michelle Mills. Let me tell you a little bit about Michelle. So, Michelle completed 2 degrees at WGU, one of them while living in an RV and homeschooling her children, which is just incredible. I have a lot of questions about that. Today, she's running her own consulting firm that serves military-connected talent. Good day, Michelle. Welcome to the show. It's nice to connect with you.
So great to meet you, Jack, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Michelle, let's jump in. Paint the picture of this RV, homeschooling your kids. Take us through this journey. What did that look like?
Absolutely. So, it's early 2007, and we were at our 4th duty station with the United States military. My husband was downrange, and we got the wonderful notice that they were shutting our base down. And with that notice, I was looking at job opportunities in the career field I was working in for a new duty station, and quickly realized that, unfortunately, what I was doing in the state that we were presently in, I was not able to continue in without finishing my degree. Now, I had tried to finish my degree multiple times, but we kept moving. Schools weren't virtual. And so, unfortunately, I had about 140 credits and no actual degree. 2008 rolls around and we decide, okay, we were in our new place. It was finally time to settle down and do the programming again. Got everything lined up with WGU. Looked like life was going to be a little calm. And my husband came home one day and said, guess what, honey, I'm going to deploy again, but don't worry, this time it's in the United States. So we spent enough time apart. Let's go ahead and get an RV. We're going to load up our children who are in elementary school and middle school and our dog, and we're going to drive across country. We'll spend 4 months on this adventure. It's going to be awesome. So we did. We bought a RV off of eBay, of all things. So I'd never seen it, never had owned an RV. Picked that thing up, drove it across country, and 24 hours later, my husband deploys. And he leaves for the entirety of 4 months. So I've got a middle schooler and a late elementary school and this dog. And we were in the RV. So we were all doing our homework together, sitting around the little table, submitting assignments from all over the world.
Now, I just have to follow up and ask, though, because on one hand, that sounds like super fun and super exciting, living in an RV, right? Traveling the world, as you stated. But at the same time, there had to be major challenges for you as mom and also for your kids and your puppy as well. Were there moments that were maybe challenging? And how did you stay motivated through it all?
What we found was interesting. So if we're thinking back to 2007, internet was not something guaranteed. It wasn't something you hotspotted off your phone. It wasn't available every place you're at, especially as we were driving across country and at the mercy of RV parks as we're getting settled. It wasn't a consistency that I could guarantee on. So there was always the challenge of where can I actually do my homework? Where can I get my grades submitted, my assignments submitted? And then testing centers. As you're traveling across the world, testing centers were, at that time, we had to go to physical testing centers. I'm not sure where it's at now. But I had to be in a physical building. So finding those locations, using the little search finder and be able to go to those places so I could make sure my assignments were submitted on time was definitely a challenge. I think the advantage, though, was my children were also going through school. So we were all having the same challenges. They were submitting, they'd have to do their homework. We'd have to figure a way to upload it to get it back to their teachers because their teachers had actually given us curriculum, which was great. But it was constantly a motion of okay, whose homework is it now? Who's on deck? Who's taking care of the dog? But we worked together as a team. My youngest actually loved it so much when we had moved back to the West Coast where we had been stationed at and when the deployment was wrapping up. He actually just asked, can we just live in the RV full time and get rid of the house? So it was challenging, but I think it was such core memories for my kids that it was never an issue.
That's so awesome. And something that your family will always be able to remember and look back, right? They'll be able to tell their kids, your grandchildren, way down in the future. But what a cool experience.
So not so distant future. Actually, I am a grandma. So I've got 2 little grandbabies, and my oldest is in 1st grade. And his dad does tell him stories, tells him stories about what it was like growing up in the military lifestyle, tells him stories about different places he went to school and some of the experiences. So it is a fun story and adventure to continue on with the generations.
Now, Michelle, I want to ask you a little bit more about your consulting firm. You founded the EWV, which serves military-connected talent. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So I spent the bulk of the last 14 years of my professional life heavily invested in the talent acquisition world. And for the last 10 years, it's been hyper-focused on the military-connected community. So there is a lot of need, and it's an underserved population. When we look at it, their unemployment rates are much higher for our male spouses. We're looking at 22% unemployment rates. For our junior enlisted who transition and get out, their unemployment rate's about double. And so unfortunately, this is just a population that gives everything and doesn't get the support they need on the backside. And so by being in this arena for this long, I just saw that there was a larger need to get out there and help organizations stand up and create military inclusive programming. Talent acquisition is just one part of it, but there's so many other parts of how you support the military connected community. As I've shared, we've moved around quite a few times. Our upcoming move this summer will be our 14th assignment in 26 years. And so portability and job progression is a core problem that exists in the military spouse community. And when you think about supporting this organization or, an organization in this community specifically, I think it's really important to look at how once you've hired them, you also retain that. Right now, we have less than 1% of our U.S. population serving in any sort of military service, including reserve, guard, and active duty. And so it's our responsibility that they're standing up and they're all volunteer, that on the backside, we're supporting the veterans and that we're supporting the male spouses while they're supporting their active duty people.
Thank you. That's fascinating. I'm curious if there's been a sense of pride or what the key moment that you've had just as you've been involved with this company that you've created.
We had launched a new recruiting initiative in a location where the average compensation that was offered for military spouses was around minimum wage. Like, you were supposed to feel really good about getting $1 more than minimum wage. And when we look at military spouses specifically, the demographic, they are the most highly educated subsect of any other demographic in the U.S., which means they have the most post-high school education. They have between it certifications, degrees. So when you get a military spouse and you've got somebody with a bachelor's or a master's, which I had to go through, even through my challenges, but you're offering them just minimum wage, you're really not valuing the experience and the value that they bring to the organization. So we had launched this new initiative in a location that it was pretty sad to see what those spouses were supposed to be proud to get compensation-wise. And this company that had signed up to work with us as our firm had decided they were going to beat the statistics. And so what they did is they looked at their positions, and we did a compensation analysis of what they were paying these people across the United States. And they were going to offer fair compensation for the role, not for the location. They wanted the experts and they were willing to pay for it. The wonderful thing was on the backside, we were offering triple the of what was the normal average pay military spouses were getting in that area. And so we were able to hire on 2 military spouses for this org in this location. And the compensation ended up being where they were able to make more money than even their spouses. And there's a huge concern, especially in our enlisted side, for food insecurity, access to affordable childcare and all of this. And so for these 2 people, and again, it doesn't have to be 100, 2 people in a community is a lot. These 2 families, it forever changed their lives.
What a great success story. Thank you for sharing that. That's so great to hear. Now, I understand you also used to work at Amazon. What did you do there?
I did. So actually, I ran the North American talent acquisition team for military. So we had a team of up to 24 at our peak, but our whole purpose and goal were to hire veterans and military spouses to different positions across to Amazon. We were able to help people transition at all different phases from the military, from junior enlisted all the way to our senior individuals. And on top of that, we stood some groundbreaking programs for spouses, which oftentimes are not included in military programming. It was a hard decision. I was on the team for 5 years, really was proud of the work we had done and what we were able to accomplish. But I had built a scalable and sustainable model that could then be continued on. And me sitting in that spot was holding that for the next person to progress their career. So I actually had resigned from my role in September when I stood up my firm. It was just the right thing to do. It provided, for multitudes of reasons, the space that was needed for both sides. And in this new function and new skill that I'm in, I can help a lot more organizations, not just one particular company.
Can you tell me about how you grew up and what your experiences were like in school?
So I'm an Army brat. I was born at an Army hospital and I grew up in an Army town. My biological father was one who served in the military. He transitioned not too many years after I was born. But unfortunately, he struggled with his transition and struggled with finding jobs. And so did my mom, my biological mom. So they both really had employment crises and problems and just never really landed, which I think is also some of my passion in regards to helping, especially the junior enlisted. My biological father was junior enlisted, helping them transition and get actual jobs that can take care of them and their families. But childhood was challenging. So we went through bouts of homelessness, and it was just part of what life was at the time. And, to be very transparent, we also were CPS kids based on some of the issues that were going on in the house and just some of the challenges that were there. So school was actually my respite. It was where I loved to go. I was highly involved because it got me out of the house. It gave me stability. I changed schools a lot. I went to 4 schools within 18 months, leaving middle school, going into high school. So it was something that was important to me because I knew it was an avenue out. I knew it was an avenue to a better life than what I had grown up with. And it was something that I held very, very dear to me. I did go to college right out of high school away, and I was actually the first person in my family to go away to a school. That is the year that I got pregnant with my oldest child. And so I was actually a single mom at 19 as a teenager. Came back and, again, that also went into some of the challenges of finishing my degree and why it took me a little bit longer. It's just, I was a single mom until he was 3. And it was just part of it. But I always knew that education in school was where I needed to be and what I wanted to be, was complete with the degree, because I did feel like it was going to open up opportunities that were not afforded to me as a child, that were not within the scope of what I grew up around. So it was something that was very critical to me.
Michelle, thank you for sharing all of that. And it's inspiring to know where you've come from, what you've been through, and that motivates you today to be able to help others to get through some of those challenging times. So thank you for sharing all of that. Now, what inspired you to go back to school and get your degree?
Our youngest child was on the spectrum at that same age and had made lots of leaps and bounds. So the school district had reached out to me and asked me if I could help other kids be able to see the same success. And so I did, and I loved it. I worked with a little boy primarily. He was my primary client that I worked with, getting him the classroom. And, the growth from the beginning of the year where he could not sit in a classroom and do, independent work around his peers and have that, modeling going on his own, to the end of the year where he could, and I could step away, was so rewarding. And then we got the notice we were moving, and the next base, I couldn't do the same job. And so it was that conversation of like, this is the time I have to, if I'm going to make a difference in people's lives, this is a consistent barrier I keep coming across. It's like, I don't have a degree. I have the skills, I have the experience, I have all this greatness to give, but this is the one thing that on an application, they will not get looked past. And so if I want to continue making a difference in people's lives, I'm going to have my degree.
Was there a moment when it clicked and you knew that it wasn't too late for you?
When I realized that it was the time, and that it didn't matter that I was in my 30s. It didn't matter that I had children, and, I was actually working going into it. I think it was the support of my spouse who said, there's nothing holding you back at this time. Like, you can do this. We will figure out all the craziness around it of children and pets and everything. He said, but this means something to you, and it's something that's important to you. So there's no reason to wait anymore.
What's something unexpected you gained from returning to school?
Renewed self-confidence and renewed sense of self. Up to that point, I had been mom, I had been wife, I had been PTO volunteer, I ran nonprofits, but they really were all about everybody else. And I think the big thing for me coming out of it was like, wow, there's still a lot of me, Michelle, this professional, this driven individual who is excited about contributing to the world and being known to give back for who they are, not for everything that's part of their life. And so I think that was really big. And I think that's something that a lot of, I would say, women and moms struggle with, is when life gets really busy and you're busy being that caretaker. Maybe it's a caretaker's trait, but you're busy taking care of everybody else. and you lose who you are. And you lose and you forget who that person was that, you used to get excited to get up in the morning about, and things that gave you energy and really refilled your cup as you poured into everybody else. And I will say that completing my degrees and getting them gave me the confidence to re-explore who I was and have that professional growth.
Well, that's great to hear. And I'm glad that you found yourself, you've got your confidence, and you're having tremendous impact for so many people, including your family and obviously the work that you're doing at your firm. Great to hear. Can you share another experience when you realized it was never too late?
I think it was starting this firm. I mean, I was doing very well. I was progressing up the ladder in a, civilian company that's the top 2 in the world for employment sizes. It was my dream job. It was the dream, what I always wanted to do, to have large impact in this community. And when I realized that it was limited based on working for a large company, obviously I am there to help their organization grow. And so with that, there's just conflicts of interest. And knowing that I wanted to help more people, it was like, okay, it's not too late. This is the time. So it's time to get uncomfortable again.
That's awesome. Now, Michelle, I want to look forward a little bit. What's a professional goal you're focused on in the next couple of years?
So I do have a business partner who is also a military spouse. She's also a veteran. She's got a really cool background herself. Our goal is to have a robust 50 plus organization hiring all military spouses and veterans to help us continue to grow the organization. So we want to grow so big where we need to bring on other individuals, give them the fair compensation, employ them at the right level, give them portable, flexible opportunities, and be able to continue to grow this not only for other companies, but for our company to be big enough to be able to employ them ourselves.
Tell me a life hack, or tell me something that you've learned along the way that has made you so successful.
For every yes you say, you're saying no to something else. So being very protective of my time, being very protective of where I put my efforts, where I give my, personal talents, whether it's, volunteer work or anything else. And that by giving those moments to pause and really think about, like, when I'm presented with an opportunity to go, is this something that by saying yes to, I'm willing to say no to these other things that are really important to me, has been absolutely hugely beneficial, and also just great for the whole time management challenge that we often have. And it also helps me not feel guilty when I say no to something, because I know that if I'm saying no to something, it's because there's something I know I'm more passionate about, that I feel my talents are better used, or that I just want to pour into, that is more important to me. And that's okay.
And so from the nest, this is meant to be rapid fire. So I just have a few questions that I want to present to you, and just share with me the first thing that comes to mind. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
First thing that you do in the morning?
Drink a cup of coffee.
What's one word to describe the moment when you completed your WG degree or degrees?
Proud.
What's your favorite late night study snack?
Nachos.
How about a quote or a mantra that you live by?
My husband will say, game on.
A dream job or a project still on your bucket list?
What I'm doing now.
What makes you proud to be a night owl and a WGU alum?
I'm proud to be a part of an organization that makes a difference and that can be life-changing for anybody.
What advice would you have for people wondering if it's too late for them to pursue their goals?
I would say it's not. Go after it. Get it done. Today is the best day to start. There's no reason to pause. Life is always going to be there. Life is always going to be happening. But the great part of it is when you have a flexible program, you don't have to choose one or the other.
And Michelle, if people wanted to connect with you or find your company, where can they go to do that?
I am very active on LinkedIn, so it's a great place to connect with me, see a lot of the initiatives we're doing. And my Michelle M. Mills is my moniker on LinkedIn. That's how you'll find me. Additionally, you can also connect with us on our company webpage, which is theewv.com, which stands for Elite Women Veterans.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle, for the time today. Continued success to you and your family and all that you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, for being part of this WGU alumni community. You can learn more at wgu.edu/alumni. We appreciate your time, and continued success to all of you in our audience.